Thanks for joining us again, Jared and myself, with a little bit of a slasher movie side film. Jared, with 1989's Intruder. A little bit of news before we get into this. I just wanted to raise a couple of things. I've been floating around the news for a little bit. First things first, though, I believe they released the first couple of photos of the new I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Correct.
TV series, Jared. Obviously, it looks very in keeping with the film.
Yep.
Based on what I could see and based on a little bit of tidbits that they provided, it's very much like the film, not like the book, which we both recently read. My hope is that with a little bit more time and a little bit more, what are we talking, probably 10 episodes here?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how many, but...
They can expand on it.
Yeah. I'm hoping they've got a meaty story to expand on, though, because both the movie and the book were pretty slim in that regard.
Well, maybe you can build character more.
Yeah, Yeah. Well, that was what we spoke about with the book. So the book did a little bit of a better job than with someone like Ray, for example, than the movie was able to.
Well, Jared, I mean, he got a letter. For fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's right. He got a letter saying your services won't be required for further films if you keep this up.
No, but the problem is Jim Gillespie was at the helm, so he didn't get that letter. Jim just let him fucking do what he wanted. Sorry, Jim. You don't see my detox episode for my thoughts on you.
Big fan.
Shit. Oh, huge fan. Look, I've actually got high hopes for it. I believe James Wan is involved. Is that?
Yeah, I think
correct?
he's in the producing side of things.
Right, so he walked past. Someone said, "Are you interested in this?"
Yeah. Someone said, "Can we chuck your name on this so someone will buy it?" yeah, okay. Yeah. Give me a cut.
Do you want to come past the set, James? Do you want to get? Can we come and have a look at the set? No, mate. I got nothing else. I got other things to do. Sorry.
We'll give you a bit of cash if you do. I think that's how they got it made. I'm hoping he had a little bit of involvement, a little bit of sort of shepherding things in particular directions, because he's the sort of guy that you trust with this sort of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm tempering my expectations, but I'm hoping it's good. And I believe it comes out the same time as... I think it's around the same time as the Candyman movie. So,
okay,
we'll have a couple of things to check out later on this month.
Good. My other piece of news is two-pronged. It seems like a number of actors are suing studios over profits to film. Scarlett Johansson has really sort of stuck the boot in, saying, well, my contract said you were going to release it theatrically, only theatrically, and that's cost me money. Scarlett, I hate to say it, but I think it hasn't cost you anything, because it wasn't going to make the money in the cinemas.
Well, I mean, that's debatable. Like, it's all about...
Well, it's not going to make the kind of money they anticipated, I don't think, because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I know. I get that, but I guess it's sort of... And I think that's the big thing, right? It's the pandemic more than the home release. I think the home release... I think you're right. In the situation, the home release probably did close the gap a little bit more, because... Yeah, the situation is that it's just not going to be normal cinema dollars because no one was going out to the movies.
But what I read, Jared, is that that was factored in, the home release. They were saying the home release dollars are part of it. Well, we're not trying to screw you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I didn't go deep into it, but I thought the issue was that there was incentives or money tied to what was made in theatres, and that is compromised. That that's not that the money made on Disney Plus didn't count into those dollars that we're then going to hurt.
I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know, mate. It's extreme circumstances.
If that's the case, if that's what's going on, if they're saying we made this much money but only this much of it was in theatres, which covers your contract, then that's probably a bit of an issue. But if it's just that the total figure, if it's just that the total figure that they were anticipating in a normal release wasn't made, then that's kind of every movie at the moment. So it's difficult times. I think Emma Stone was going to jump on board too, wasn't she? Same situation with Cruella. Well, she was considering options, I think.
Gerard Butler is also doing similar. Over Olympus Has Fallen. Sorry. Okay, that's as far as I'll go on that one.
Oh man, I didn't read into that one, but I had to chuckle. I don't dislike the bloke, but I'm not a huge fan of his movies. He's one of these guys where he got into this headlining kind of role for a bit, where people just think you stick Gerard Butler in a movie and everyone's turning up, and I don't think that was ever the case.
Oh, mate, look, no disrespect to Gerard, but he's a shit peddler. His films are crap. Like, they are crap. I can't believe that the Olympus Has Fallen series has got 3 films.
No, neither can I.
The first one was okay, but it was nothing outstanding. It made a bit of money. Obviously, Gerard didn't get enough of it and has recently reassessed 10 years later.
Well, I saw that one that he was headlining on Amazon about an asteroid or whatever. Honestly, 30 seconds into the trailer, I was just like, oh, God, I couldn't do it.
You do realise that was made by the same dildos who made fucking Godzilla and Independence Day.
I had an inkling.
Yeah, no surprise, it's a fucking disaster film. Dickheads. Every 5 years, these guys dust off a script that they've had in their fucking pocket for 20 years.
Yeah.
And some idiot executive goes, oh, yeah, I'll take it. Was it called Greenland or something?
Yeah, something like
that.
Geostorm. That's it.
Yeah, no thanks.
No, I didn't.
No thanks, Gerard.
I mean, that was, again, I wouldn't have had to pay for it. I already have Amazon, but I wasn't doing it. I wasn't going anywhere near it.
And are you putting yourself anywhere near Paramount Plus?
Greenland. Greenland's the one. He did Greenland and Geostorm, didn't he?
Oh, fuck.
So Geostorm,
you should be giving me money, Gerard, you prick.
Geostorm was in 2017. Greenland is the one that went to Amazon. That was,
Oh, my God.
No chance. Nah, I wasn't doing it.
You said you were circling. Are you circling Paramount Plus?
No, I didn't say I was circling. I was just sitting there going, like, how do you expect us to fork out for another one? The idea of getting all the streaming services and that sort of thing was that, you know, you're still paying less than something like Foxtel, but you've got all the content and everything. Well, now it's getting
sooner
to the
or
point
later
where
you're going to be paying more than Foxtel.
Well, if you get them all, you are going to be paying more. Like, so Paramount Plus, I have left, and I won't be getting on it until they offer me something that I need. Unfortunately for them, they've loaded up with things like The Dark Knight and, you know, DC movies and that sort of stuff, and I've already got. I own those because I'm a DC fan, so that's not going to get me over the line. The original series aren't going to do it for me either.
Well, the thing is, it's like Apple TV. Was it Apple TV?
Yeah.
Is that their streaming knob?
Yeah.
When they put it out, we were offered it for free, I think.
Yep.
As part of your Apple phone.
Yes, yeah.
I just looked at it and I was like, Morning Wars and shit like that, and I was just like, no, thanks.
Well, I currently have it. I did the same thing. I got offered it when I bought a new iPad. I got 12 months free, and I said, nah, I don't think I need it. So I just never signed up. And then someone else in the family updated their iPad, so I took it on then. But I can honestly say I haven't watched a thing. We've had it for about 3 months, and I haven't watched anything on it. So the only one that was half grabbing me was Amazing Stories, and then I read a little bit into it, and the reviews all said it just doesn't come close to the original one. So I didn't go for it.
Yeah. there was a show on it that I liked the look of, but again, I wasn't prepared to pay however much a month. And it was about it was called Home After Dark, I think.
Hmm.
About a little girl who investigates a murder. I can't remember the full details of it, but I remember seeing that and thinking that might be all right. And then I was like, nah. I've had a look at the Apple TV range and it just wasn't doing anything for me.
No, there wasn't much there.
Yeah, and I think Paramount Plus might be a bit the same.
The only thing that I could say that might end up getting us there is they've got some of the kids' series that I might perhaps grab it for a month or two just to let the kids watch some of that. Because I think they've got the new SpongeBob stuff, which my kids enjoy, so I might chuck it on for a month or two to let them watch that, and then I'll probably can it after that.
Yeah. This movie, of course, was on Cheapie, Jared, so not a single dollar spent.
That's right.
Best price you can get, I'd say.
Yeah, although you do have to wade through the muck to find some of it.
Oh, I noticed they had, as I was wading through the muck to get to this film, I noticed they had a Cheapie original on there.
Did they? Oh, shit. I didn't know they were making originals.
It was a romance. I laughed for a second, then I just moved on.
I also noticed they seem to be pushing a little bit of smut on Cheapie. Yeah. I saw a couple of little. I was, flicking through it, and I stumbled across some of these little soft core things. I'm like, what's this doing on here?
Right.
It's okay. Like when you. It's like
we'll start watching Cheapie tonight.
it's like the old days of the video store. I've accidentally just wandered down an aisle and gone, oh shit, didn't know this was here, but I'll have a little look.
Back in the old days, it was in a small room at the back.
Yeah. No, that was the real sort of heavy stuff. I'm talking about, when you went on to, Civic Video or something like that, and you got the old Shannon Tweed films just sitting on the shelf somewhere.
Oh, right, yes.
I think that's the kind of stuff they're pushing on there.
You picked him up and had a look just to see what it was. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, you picked this up and said, oh, is there anyone I know in this? I better just have a look at the back cover just to check.
Yeah, Mirror Images 4. Give us a look. I'll check it out. Yeah, I remember those days. There was the funny thing about my old video store is there was a little room full of smut.
Yeah.
And there was a little room full of Betamax. So if you walked into the wrong room, you got a fucking eyeful.
And if you owned Beta, you got treated like some sort of cretin when you walked in. You got to go into a little room.
Yeah, it's like, where's the Beta section? Yeah. Head to the back.
Yeah,
into the darkened corners, mate.
The good old Top Video used to have a little curtained off room too. Very, very small.
of Betamax or smut?
Probably both.
All right, let's take a break. Here's the trailer to 1989's Intruder.
Good evening, Walnut Lake shoppers.
It's closing time.
The store will be closing in 15 minutes.
But the night crew still has work to do.
Oh my God, we're gonna get in so much trouble.
Because there's one last customer who isn't satisfied.
No, this creep keeps calling her. He's driving us nuts. Leave me alone.
He wants to slash their prices.
Who's there?
He wants to cut their inventory.
You're crazy!
In fact, he wants to chop until they all drop.
I saw him kill Linda.
And now he's turning their retail store.
There's gonna be one more killing here tonight.
Into a wholesale slaughterhouse.
I'm just crazy about this store.
Intruder.
Intruder from 1989, directed by Scott Spiegel, who directed Hostel Part 3. It's produced by Lawrence Bender, who produced Pulp Fiction. And the story is by Scott Spiegel and Lawrence Bender. The screenplay is by Scott Spiegel. It stars Elizabeth Cox as Jennifer Ross, Renee Estevez as Linda, Sam Raimi as Randy, and Bruce Campbell as Officer Howard. There was no box office. I couldn't find any box office. I'm going to assume this went direct to video. And at one point in the pre-production stage, Toby Hooper was originally set to direct it. My thoughts on Intruder. Look, they squeeze a hell of a lot out of an extremely small budget. Like 130k in 89, not a lot of money, right? And it actually delivers some really cool shots and some really good gore. Unfortunately, the budget limitations mean that things like acting and music and credible fight scenes and things like that just aren't sort of there, and the pacing is way off. But overall, I'll say it's a pretty good try for a movie of this budget and calibre. It's a step above a lot of that lower rent sort of schlocky shit that was coming out in the 80s. So I'd give it a 2.5, I'd say.
Interesting. Yeah.
What's your take?
I agree for the most part. I think they squeeze everything out of it. As you said, things like the music are pretty noticeable that there's not a lot going on there. I don't actually think the pacing was much of an issue. I actually think it was just that the story was kind of like the way that we get focused on one guy for a while and nothing really happens other than him kind of roaming around outside the store. And then obviously, going into spoilers again, when that plays out as expected and he's not the guy.
Yeah.
We spent all this time setting him up when we kind of knew that wasn't much going to happen. So as a result, the kills don't start until about half an hour in,
50 minutes in, I think.
Or 40 minutes in,
longer than that.
Yeah, well, it's and that's where I think the issue is. I don't necessarily think it's the pacing of the film itself. I think the just the writing of trying to tie this stuff together and trying to fool us with it when it was pretty underdeveloped
Jared,
anyway.
Yeah, maybe not pacing, but maybe they could have spaced the kills better.
Well, yeah, that's
Put
probably
a couple of them up front.
Yeah, that's probably where it was hurt for me, is that the writing seemed to spend all this time trying to set this guy up. So I guess on the screen that does come through at how the film kind of works through what we're expecting. So it
drags a fair bit for the start.
Yeah, I can see why you're putting it in the sort of pacing department, but I actually think it's more of a writing thing. Like we spent so much time with this stuff at the start, but once that's gone and we start getting the kills, it basically just does nothing but that. It's nothing but the stalking. There's no more character work at all. It's just kind of the stalking of the people inside the store.
I appreciated that shit too.
Yeah, they did some.
I think once we
really
got to the
things.
gore and the kills, I think we did some really good things, and those set pieces were good.
Yeah, definitely a few quite inventive ones, and Scott Spiegel just seems to do this stuff when he's directing. He tries to be a little bit creative with the shots and tries to do things that are a little bit different. Sometimes they come off as a bit goofy, like, for example, when you're shooting Sam Raimi through the glad wrap that he's rolling and things like that. But other times it's pretty nifty, and there's a few examples in this one. As you said, what they managed to squeeze out of the gore with however they managed to get Greg Nicotero and Robert Kurtzman and those guys doing the effects. Obviously, they were young and just starting out as well.
Yeah.
But that stuff's awesome. And I think right up to the end, it's a lot of fun. But unfortunately, as you said, it takes a little while to warm past that setup story that seemed to be that they were trying to throw us off the scent when it never really did.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think I actually settled on a 3. I really enjoy it when it gets going. I think it's a pretty good example of a cheap little slasher film.
Yeah. Yeah, not bad, not bad. First cab out off the rank for likes. The FX are outstanding, and it's such a luxury to have a really good FX crew who, as you say, they would have been starting out, but they had done some stuff, I think, prior to this. Like they weren't sort of rookies. They had done some work, so they obviously had connections with Spiegel and Raimi and those guys.
Yeah.
And the work they produce is excellent.
I actually
for a cheap movie like this, they would get paid a pittance, and they've done a fantastic job.
A couple of really memorable kills. Basically, something like the guy getting done with the slicer is like you probably don't even bother with it unless you got guys like this that can produce what they did. So yeah, their work was probably the best thing about it when you look back and weigh it all up. I think it probably puts it in a tier above what it would have been without their sort of work in there.
Yeah, and look, we talked about this in the Friday episode. That visceral stuff is important. I'm not saying that, I want to see gore for gore's sake, but when you do it, when you're going to do it pretty full on, and this movie does that. You take the full on gore out of this, it's a shell.
Yeah. And I think when it first got released,
to deliver at that end.
I think when it first got released, it did have a lot of that stuff cut out, which is why it became one of these ones that people discovered a little bit later. Because I believe a lot of it was cut, so which it obviously. I'm the same as you. I'm not a gore hound or anything like that. I don't need to see these gruesome sort of things, but the effects are important because they do give you a little bit of a shock factor, a bit of a jolt, and they definitely add. And as you said, it's for certain people, it's a buzz to see what they've managed to produce with very little money, and you're thinking, how do they squeeze it out of that? How did they achieve it? Like as we've said before, like a magic trick.
Yeah, great. So it's very important to have it in this film, and it sort of lifts the game of the film tremendously. Like that back half is where all of the stuff happens, and it works really well.
Definitely.
You touched on Spiegel's directorial stuff. There's a couple of really, really interesting shots. One in particular that starts off with the camera inside the trolley.
Yeah.
And it's rolling along, and they put some cereal in there.
Yep.
Then you've got the one through the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one from beneath the floor where she's sweeping.
Yeah, yep. Lots of good ones there.
There's a number of really interesting shots. And normally I'd say, well, maybe it's a little bit over the top, but when you're working on such a small budget and you don't really have a heap of things to fall back on, you have to try and sort of jazz it up a little. And I think he does that for the most part.
Like when they start bringing it into the kills or into the stalking stuff, it actually works really well. Like I think the best example is the kill of the part owner of the store, where it's shot through the bottle. It starts off through the bottle, and then he lifts it up, and then he puts it back down just as the killer comes in, and it's what's used to obscure the killer. And that's then followed up by the spilling the blood on the light. And like you said, it's just those little touches that are pretty memorable. They add a little bit of atmosphere to the scene, and like that's something that I haven't necessarily seen before. Like we've seen killers obscured in different ways in the film, but to have it shot through a bottle that essentially kind of warps what you can see, I thought that was excellent.
Just to say, you, I believe, had a similar like in the Prom Night remake, where they used a glass
there you
to
go.
obscure the killer.
Yes.
So, they must have learned something from
I think perhaps
1989's Intruder.
Perhaps I just liked that I didn't have to see some of the film for a bit. It was just obscured by something. I didn't have to watch any of it.
Yeah, that's probably true. There's also a really cool one of that guy who's watching. Is it Jennifer?
Mm-hmm.
Is the main girl?
Yeah.
And that bloke comes up and they start kissing down at the registers.
Yeah.
And old mate's watching him,
through the fridge.
Through the fridge. And of course he's going, ooh, like it's something scandalous.
like he's just discovered the curtained room at the back of the video store.
Exactly. He's walked into the Betamax room. But he leaves his post, and then they show the same point of view shot, and then he appears.
Yeah.
In front of it. And then you realise the point of view is actually the killer.
The killer. That was excellent.
Yeah, I thought that was a really, really nifty shot.
Yeah, and I think that's
a very nice way to do it.
I think that's where I appreciate the creative touches that Spiegel's trying to work with, because, as we said, once the kills start, there's not much else going on. So it's not hanging on the story. It's got to be the kills, and it's got to be the drama that's created by the stalk and slash, and he does it really well. And that was a prime example. I actually really enjoyed that one as well.
Yeah, agreed. The rest of the likes for me. Oh no, actually no. You've picked up one of my likes, which was the shot of the owner of the store being killed through the alcohol bottle, which I thought was great. Actually filming in a proper supermarket. Just give it a bit of atmosphere, the nooks and crannies of an actual supermarket, because these guys would have been forced to do this. They wouldn't have been able to do it on a set, or because you have to dress that and you have to do all those things. So doing it in the actual supermarket, grounded in a little bit of reality, because it was a legitimate place.
Yeah,
and everything had to be fit in amongst all that.
They used it really well, like the creative kills that they got out of what was in the place. But not only that, but when the store goes dark, for example, they managed to build a nice little atmosphere in there. It is quite spooky when you see him running across the checkouts and things like that, across the registers. I thought that stuff looked really cool, and I also like that they seem to have got a hold of one where it looked like, or however they'd shot it, there was just one little door, one door into the place, so you could actually buy that some of this shit was going on with no one else kind of coming into the place,
being aware of it. Yeah. I think they did a really good job there. It was a perfect location for them.
Yeah,
and it works out quite nicely. And as I said, they were shooting at night, and the store was opening in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's again a little bit of that guerrilla filmmaking, doing it cheap and cheery, but finding a place to set a slasher film.
Yep.
That's not the norm. And I think that it worked out quite well.
Yeah, not only that, but as somebody who worked in a supermarket, they actually kind of nailed a couple of things about it, like everyone carrying their little box cutters, accidentally cutting fucking bags open when you cut the box open and shit like that. The fresh produce guys cutting things up out the back, the box crusher. I remember all that shit from the supermarket that I worked in. Yeah. So seeing that in there, I was like, that kind of hit home a little bit. It was because I looked at it and I said, well, they didn't really stretch too far. They didn't really stretch it. Obviously, their special effects and the way that people are killed is where they stretch the reality of it. But as you said, they've grounded it because, as for me, I can see some of my own experiences in what they put together there.
Yeah. The rest of my likes were deaths.
Yeah.
Ivan Raimi copping a very large knife in the top of the head. Just quietly, though, he was listening. I would have put a knife into my fucking head if I had listened to that same song over and over and over again.
I think you're getting mixed up again, mate. That was Ted, wasn't it?
Oh, Ted, sorry.
Ted. Ivan's the producer one that we were debating whether he actually existed, and then decided yes, he did. And I think he's on the production side of things, isn't he? Ted copped it in the head.
Maybe.
And then Sam was actually... Sam was the other one in there. Yeah.
He copped it under the chin.
Yeah.
With
that song,
meat
though,
hook.
As you said, I mean, fuck. We're led to believe the bloke listens to the same song for a fucking solid hour.
Holy shit! I'd have cut my own throat.
Not only the same song, but it seems to be the same section of the song for the fucking entire time he's in the movie.
And I'm pretty sure I've heard that on an ad for a Canberra business recently. So
I had definitely heard.
Jesus Christ!
I had definitely heard.
It's probably what do they call it? Public domain.
Yeah.
Piece of music.
Yep.
But Jesus, Ted, turn the tape over, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, well, he's got the same song on the other side too. Must have been a single. Yeah, he's constantly flipping.
But he would have had one of those really fancy Walkmans where you could just click a button and it'd flip it over. Do you remember those
Yeah,
ones?
I remember them.
Jesus Christ.
Great stuff.
Crushing that bloke's head in the hydraulic press. That was a personal favourite of mine.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Shit goes everywhere too.
Yeah.
Blood and gore and guts, and it's just everywhere.
I even appreciated, like, the ones when it was pretty straight down the line, the guy that ends up getting stabbed, and he
just sits down on the beer cans.
Yeah, and so the beer cans start gushing along with the blood, so you kind of get this red kind of spray of shit going everywhere. I thought that was kind of cool. Again, just a nice little touch that just sort of built the excitement of the scene a little bit more than it would have been if it was just a straight down the line kill.
Yeah. And, of course, the bloke getting his head sawn in half.
Yeah, that was...
It's a real showstopper, that one.
That was top of the pile, probably. It was very interesting, that
and
one.
And it was nasty as hell.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty convincing.
Yeah, for the most part, it's pretty solid. And especially, like, I think those guys... I think I read somewhere the three effects guys got $700 each, which I think also covered the materials that they needed to put that shit together.
Jesus. Wow, they probably must have been using stuff out of their own pocket.
I don't know how they would have done
their own materials.
But it's pretty impressive for whatever they did.
I really like that bit where she's in the meat locker and she's hiding.
Yeah.
And the camera sort of pans up. You see the feet. And the camera pans up and there's just the bloke's legs with all his guts piled on top of it.
Shit.
Right.
I mean, I also...
easily amused.
Look, I mean, along the same lines, I had a bit of a chuckle when Sam Raimi finds a hand that's been packaged up like one of the store products in the locker as well. So... Yeah, I think it's got a little bit of that sense of humour that those guys are known for, like that comes through a few times. It's not quite as apparent as in the Evil Dead movies, but you can definitely see a little bit of that sense of humour there.
Yeah. And they find that pair of feet in the toilet stall.
Yeah.
And the bloke's like, good work with the pig's feet. I'm like, yeah, have a good hard look at it, mate.
What
fucking pig wears a size 9, you dildo?
Oh, man.
When she slides off that chute thing that they keep showing throughout, and old mate's been chopped in half and dumped in a bin and it says half off, of course I giggled.
Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. That's what we're looking for.
Comic gold.
Yep.
Comic genius. And finding that guy's sawn in half head in the beer cooler was another one.
Yeah. Yeah, they used it to solid impact those little bits there, because as we said, it's still where not a hell of a lot is happening outside of the stalk and slash. It's got it down to 1-on-1 basically, and it's similar to when we got, speaking about the Friday the 13th we watched, where Tina walks through that a handful of bodies that have just been pinned up to the trees and stuff. It's just her walking in on something that gives her a reason to scream and gives the audience a bit of a shock. But I thought, again, given price, given constraints, they did a fairly good job of it.
In a way, what I liked about it was you're reusing the materials, right? So you only had so much money for gore. You only had so much you could do.
Yep.
So what you're doing is you're showing us the aftermath again. So it's other gore sequences, but they don't change the materials that have already been used. So I appreciate what they did there. It's that's stretching your dollar. If you're giving 3 FX men $700 each.
Yep, absolutely.
They got away with one quite nice scare for me. I mean, I didn't jump out of my seat. I clutched the the side of the couch briefly.
Not quite a stress shit.
No. I may have heard a brief, but that was it. And that could have just been gas.
May have touched a bit of cloth.
No, come on. It didn't even get out of the colon. Like,
right, okay.
It was kept firmly in check. But she's in the aisle and she's hiding up against it. Yeah. And then he comes bashing over the top.
Yep.
And knocks all the cereal out of the way.
Yes, and then
it was it was cheap, Jack, but it worked.
It was cheap, but then it was again they used what they had, and I believe he copped a jar of wheat germ to the forehead for his troubles after that.
Yes. He grabs her by the hair.
Yes, that's right.
He is, of course, fucking Jason Voorhees because he lifts her off the ground.
That's right. Well, when you've been lifting boxes of groceries for 10 years, you tend to build up superhuman muscle.
A little bit of forearm strength.
Yeah.
And look, he looked like the kind of guy who flogs himself off pretty regularly. And he's a double-hander, for sure. he changes ends, so to speak.
Okay. I don't know whether you would have got the same entertainment out of this as I did, but the killer beating up Craig with somebody else's head.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Especially the sound effects work because it's giving this dull thud every time he hits him with it. I thought it was, that was great stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yep.
I also like the little gag where he cops the cleaver in the hand.
Yes.
Real Friday the 13th style one.
Yep.
Goes right down the middle of his hand.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, classic. It probably would have just been had a hole in it. Because he already had blood all over his hand, so it worked out really nicely.
Yeah.
And my last like is, it's always good to see Bruce Campbell and his charisma his chin.
Of course.
Rock up on the scene at the end.
Yeah, it's always nice to see him.
I mean, he doesn't look like the best of cops. And the other cop, which I believe is Lawrence Bender, oh, fuck, he's a prick.
Yeah.
He's constantly going, shut up, and pulling hair and pushing people around.
And he's one of these ones that just kind of grabs him by the back and gives him a bit of it's like the old jumper punch almost. Just keeps giving him a little bit of a shove. And
he gives him a bit of a jiggle.
Yeah.
Shoves him down.
Yeah, good work. Very good work there.
Yeah. Anything else from you?
I only had one that we sort of went past, but the initial phase where they think Craig's in the store, and you see the owner and a few other people kind of walking around just checking things out, but the owner walking around checking for danger, and the payoff being he walks into the toilet cubicle and flushes the crapper with a kind of grimace on his face. Excellent.
You know what? I've done that myself several times in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It was that fucking filthy pricks I work with.
I imagine that was the look on your face when you stumbled into Building 10 University.
Oh yeah. Oh no. That was. I didn't even get a look on my face. I was almost in heaving.
But yeah, that was that again. That little bit of sense of humour. I think it was very purposeful that they kind of you've got this music kind of trying to heighten the tension, and then he kind of just walks into the toilet stall and goes and flushes the toilet. I'm just like yeah, righto. I share that humour, so I'll go with it.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Yeah,
it resonates.
It does.
All right, so dislikes. The music is. I mean, it sounds like it's been done on a Casio keyboard that's not tuned correctly. And it just sounds really tinny.
And there's a couple of times where it goes from, it seems to go from trying to be eerie to then all of a sudden you get this burst of almost fucking circus music or something. Like it's just, it's not great. Not great.
No, it's not. It's probably one of the least, like, I would have scaled the music back. Because when you're working with 130k, you need to be very, very shrewd about what you do.
Yeah.
Now, something like Halloween, okay, that was a bit more money, $250, but Carpenter was doing the music himself. Like, he was a musician, so he was getting paid a fee, and he was also doing music. So you're not paying someone. I don't think whatever this guy was paid, he should have given it back.
Okay.
Because it was a real low point.
Yeah, it wasn't.
The film.
It definitely stood out.
Yeah. Now, we talked about pacing, and I think you might be correct. It's more about how they structured the story and the writing. I would have liked to see the kill space better.
Yeah.
Bring the one to the forefront a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Classic slasher stuff, knock someone over in the first 5 minutes.
Yep.
Something like that. It gets better once the gore happens, but it's almost 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Before someone is killed.
Yep.
And, like the Punisher making Rent, Jared, I don't want to see people fucking stocking shelves. Like, if I want to do that, I'll go down to my local Coles at 10 p.m.
Yeah, look, you wanted a bit of that because that's what they were doing, but I'm talking like minimal, very minimal.
A montage.
A montage, that's right. You know what they're doing. And then the other times you see it should be like when, the part where the bloke was cutting the bags open and then the other guy asks for his cutter and then when he throws it back, it's not him. And that was okay because that was in the run of things. Yeah. They were doing their job. He was working his way through them. So, yeah.
And the Raimi boys and all that were out, cutting meat and all that sort of stuff. That's fine.
Yeah. But as you said,
there was a lot of nothingness going on up front.
Yeah, that's right. There was a fair bit. And it's given that the movie's only, 85 minutes, roughly?
Yeah.
Just make it 80. Cut a bit of that shit out at the start and just go with an 80-minute movie, for mine.
Yeah. Move one kill to the front, cut a little bit of the guff, and I reckon you've probably got a bit more of a tighter, more streamlined package that works a little better.
I would think so. Going on with the music... There's parts of it where it does look a little more amateurish overall, especially with these guys making something like Evil Dead. It was a similar feel, but there was such a kind of energy to that you didn't really focus on the cheapness of it. Whereas this one, it wasn't so kind of balls to the wall. So as you said, when you saw people packing shelves and there was a couple of scenes like the fight that happened, you saw a little bit of that amateur work come through.
Yeah. It was amateur hour. That fight was amateur hour. Like, that was... They really should have thought long and hard about that because that really gave it this real cheap... It took a bit of the shine off it. Like, when they get in there and punch Craig out, I remember I was sitting there, and I know I've seen this movie before, but I was like, I didn't realise it was so fucking silly.
Yeah. Yeah,
but it was only because they didn't really know what they were doing, I don't think.
Yeah, I'd also seen it before. I believe I purchased it on DVD at some point.
Okay.
And so, yeah, this was coming back to it after a fair old distance. But yeah, the direction at that point in particular is the low point for mine. The direction in the fight was just shocking. But of course, it did. Seeing Sam Raimi walking through the middle and being accosted also made me chortle a little bit when it happened. But the scene the scene itself wasn't so great.
Yeah, it wasn't good at all. Unfortunately, the acting's fairly amateur as well, in terms of the quality of the actors.
Yeah.
For me, I was thinking to myself, when part-time non-actor Sam Raimi's one of your better performers, you've probably got some acting problems.
Correct.
Raimi actually comes off as reasonably solid.
They did get an Estevez.
They got an Estevez, just not the right one.
No. So, look, they tried, but, agreed. Overall, the cast were a little bit lower end. Let's say.
Yeah. Look, I actually thought the main girl was okay.
Yeah, she was okay.
She was capable.
Craig, terrible.
Craig was he was... Yeah, fuck Craig. Honestly, he was strutting around in his leather jacket and everything. And his main scene is that fight.
Yeah.
Which he came off badly in. So,
yes.
Yeah, he kind of he's not good, and he's not the only one on that front. There's not much plot, really, is there?
No, there's very little.
It's really just... It's a coat hanger just to hang all the gory bits off.
Yeah.
I think.
And as we spoke about, we sort of front-end it all with all this Craig stuff. And it's just... Like, it seemed like we were just faffing around with it when we were doing it. And then, of course, it just gets left for 50 minutes when they proceed to go through and kill everyone, which is the best part of the movie. And then Craig comes back and we get a little bit more of the story as to what's going on. But, again, it's pretty light. So, yeah, it's...
It doesn't really hang for the 80 minutes.
No, I think
because it doesn't have...
I think the lack of story is probably what was to be expected with something like this. I mean, let's look at something like Halloween. It's pretty slim on the story too when you really get into it, but it's spread out much better than this was, and much more compelling when it needs to be than something like this is. And it's I was not a fan of the stuff early on with Craig.
No.
And I mean, I got what they were going for. Way
too much time.
I got what they were going for, trying to set up this. You know, this guy's been violent previously. He's going to be the one that's doing the deed. But it was pretty clear that it didn't seem that that's the way that it was going. But
also, Jared, it wasn't really a whodunit. At the end of the day.
No.
So don't worry about that shit.
I don't mind
reassess your script.
I don't mind if you set that Craig stuff up, but that shit could have been done and dusted in 10 minutes, not 30.
But Craig should be like Rod Lane. You know, he should walk in and go up
with a toilet lawnmower. That's right. Exactly.
And tell his missus where it's at and leave.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if they're
having that... He should be the first kill.
If they're having that blue a few minutes in, well, I understand why they didn't, because they wanted to leave you with something, but, we could have tossed out something more than that.
No, yeah, exactly.
And honestly, Craig, he looks like he's a young kind of Lorenzo Lamar sort of type. It just, I don't know, when you see a guy like that in these films now, and you kind of have a look at what passed for the fucking scary kind of punk type in those days, you kind of giggle a little bit about what he's bringing to the table.
He was a renegade, Jared.
He was a renegade. Absolutely.
Yes. But, jettison Craig early, either kill him or cut down on the bullshit.
Well,
you probably would have been able to streamline things.
You couldn't kill him if they're running with the story they're going with. You had to kind of keep him to the end because they were expecting us to believe that he was the guy that was doing it all.
Yeah, but couldn't you have done this? He starts a bit of a stink in there. He tells her up yours, twirling lawnmower. He's thrown out, and then he goes around the back, and you don't see him again. And then they find his corpse in the meat locker or something?
I think that's sort of what they were going for, but, tossing the little fight in there and then keeping him alive at the end.
And having all these shots of him standing there brooding outside.
Every time they went to the door, he's standing there like a fucking pain in the ass, just hanging out the front of the store. Like, just go home, mate. Just get out of here. Dickhead. Yeah, it wasn't successful. I understand what they were trying to do, but by putting him as the only one in the firing line, and then you're kind of thinking it's not him anyway. It's sort of it wasn't very successful.
Yeah, he also commits what would be the biggest laugh in the film for me. He reappears on the scene late when she's being chased.
Yeah.
And they're in the aisle, and he starts giving us a fucking blow-by-blow explanation as to what's going on. I'm like, you're being chased by a murderer, dipstick.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, you're about to be bashed around with somebody else's head. So, you better get moving, mate.
Exactly.
Be
quiet, duck low.
Get in a trolley.
Get low and shuffle.
Get out of there.
Yeah, exactly. One of the big problems was Bill's reasoning for doing it.
It is one of the funniest motivations for a slasher going.
Yeah. It's ludicrous.
I lost my small grocery store.
I better commit murder. I better kill 20 people.
Yeah. Let's not go, maybe, but looking at the size of the supermarket and the fact that he's getting a check out of it, I don't know, maybe go and talk to Harold and see if he wants to sell his small supermarket to you or something.
Yeah. Problem is it's shut down as a pandemic spot. 5 minutes after he buys it.
That's right. But I think, it was just so funny when he's sitting there going, this store was my life. It's like, well, Jesus, mate.
Jesus, Bill, get a life.
Yeah.
For real, get a life, mate.
Yep.
Quick question too. Does Jennifer pee her pants while she's hiding from him? Did you see that?
I did see.
Was it pee or was it like beer?
I don't think it was pee. I think it was something else, but I don't know. Maybe she did.
No, look, I didn't see a rat.
Yeah, that's right.
If I had seen a rat, there's no doubt it was piss.
Yeah, of course. And possibly, given the colour of it, a little bit out the other end too. Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of it for me.
Yeah, I had a couple more. So
give it to me.
By around the kill in the beer fridge, they sort of show the clothing of the killer a couple of times. They show the shirt sleeves, and they do it again with the one with the box crusher, and
right.
And so when you're looking at it, you're like, well, there was only one bloke wearing a fucking, I don't know, what seemed to be a navy blue chambray shirt or flannel or something, getting around there. So
it was definitely not chambray, mate. That bloke was not a chambray wearer.
Not classy enough.
He was a fucking flannelette guy.
Not classy enough to wear chambray. The classy people in that town wear chambray, chinos, and Colorados as a combo for when you head out to the club.
Or is it boat shoes? They go to the boat shoes.
No.
That was another one of my favourites. Oh fuck.
Boat shoes. Christ. Oh dear. Was that so you could get out on the dance floor and do like the fishing line and start reeling people in and stuff, or is that why you wore your boat shoes?
Sarah, I hate to say it, but I think we might have hit the nail on the head as to why I was not a ladies' man. Getting out to shooters and inviting people out to your yacht or something. Yeah, I was more at home on a yacht than in a nightclub. Shit. Oh, man.
Boat shoes. Good Lord.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what I was doing. I mean, I was trying to offset it with some chambray, mate, but it wasn't working.
Surprising that. I'm really surprised that it didn't work.
Oh, shit. All right. That's enough of that shit. I'm going to be rocking in the corner in a minute if we're not careful.
Shit. Oh, God.
What else you got?
Yeah, it made it fairly apparent because, and I know that was later in the piece and it wasn't really, you're already starting to cut down the characters that it could be, but you've gone to some effort to conceal who's actually doing it, so it seems kind of counterproductive. Are you sure there weren't
a couple of flannel wearers?
There was a few flannel wearers, but his was like a straight blue.
Right.
And he was the only one that was
Craig wasn't wearing a flannel, so
that's right. So it wasn't him, because he was wearing a leather jacket, for fuck's sake. So it wasn't him.
Yeah.
So that was
he was making hay in the nightclubs in that get-up, I can tell you now.
Yeah, of course, that's
Maybe
right.
I should have pivoted to the leather.
Yeah.
later in life.
That's right. Although if it was leather with boat shoes, you're probably still striking out there, right? But it's
Fucking thanks a lot.
Look, I can't help you, mate. I don't know what to say. I didn't even stoop to boat shoes.
Don't call it stooping to boat shoes, thank you. Jesus.
I'm assuming the only liquid those boat shoes ever dealt with was spilt drinks and vomit too. So
yeah, correct. In no particular order.
Christ. Oh dear.
I enjoyed my time nightclubbing, Jared.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. I enjoyed it immensely, but it didn't seem like anyone else did. So.
Yeah. Nobody else did. I can tell you right now.
Other than that, I felt perhaps the chase at the end, the one-on-one chase with Bill and Jennifer, possibly went a little bit too long. Probably could have trimmed that just a touch. But my other one was, and I don't know whether you experienced this as well, but now I was okay, and obviously you were too, because we'd seen this before, so we knew who the killer was. But the art that was on Tubi appears to be, from what I know, it is a Fright Rags t-shirt that I think possibly then ended up as part of the Shout Factory design and whatever.
Yep.
But it gives away who does it. So before you've even pressed on the movie, if you have a decent look at that picture that's sitting there on Tubi, it's the killer.
Yeah.
So what are we doing there?
I didn't look that closely.
Right,
I don't know.
okay.
It's probably not the Tubi's best work. I didn't look that closely.
You were checking out the Tubi originals instead.
I was too busy, browsing the Tubi originals and going online to pick up a set of boat shoes. But yes, it would seem a redundant piece of work if you're going to put that guy front and centre on the cover.
Like, I understand
and then 5 minutes in, you'll meet him.
Yeah, I understand it for a Fright Rags t-shirt and even for a Shout Factory box set, if that's what they ended up doing. I don't even know if it got a release, but I think that's where I get the sense that that's where some of the Tubi ones come from, because something like Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 definitely has the box art from Shout Factory. But if you're trying to keep it in any way mysterious, and given that this one's not what I'd say was widely seen, one glance at that and there it is.
And he comes up on screen within the first few minutes. So you now know it was him.
Correct. Even
though you're trying to play three-card Monty with us and say Craig did it.
That's right.
So it's not a good move, Tubi.
No, it wasn't.
Stick to your originals.
Wasn't a good one.
Anything else from you?
No, that was it for me.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
All right. Well, that was Intruder. You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes, Spotify, and a number of other podcasting platforms. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia and at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com. We're also on Instagram at thrillmepodcastau. Make sure you rate and review us on all the platforms as well to spread the word around. Keep an eye on the Facebook page for more details for the next episode. But until then, take it easy and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers.
Happy sailing.
Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.